This episode was originally a live recording at the Swiss Startup Days in 2021. Thank you for the great collaboration, and we hope that you enjoy the show.
Stopping was not an option because I would disappoint many people. One of them is me.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We have a wonderful panel interview together. I will introduce the two guests in a second, just for you to be aware of. At the end, we do have some room for questions, so if you do want to ask something that we haven't discussed yet or you would like to go into more details, feel free to also ask your questions at the end of today's session. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to our two guests. Bettina, you are the CEO of Powercoders Switzerland, a coding academy for refugees. And next to you, we have Mannar. You are a software developer at Leap and also a Powercoders graduate student. Thank you so much for being here today, to both of you. So first, we want to talk about your individual journeys. So you both have a personal background, and we want to start with you, Mannar. You studied computer engineering in Aleppo in Syria. So I just wonder, what were your plans after your studies? What did you have planned to do afterwards?
A little background about me before the college and everything. I have two siblings who were already married and abroad, and my mom was divorced since I was a teenager. So I wanted to finish college and just get a job. I didn't want to do a higher education. So I did like some freelance job. I did some governmental job because at some point life in Syria is not that easy. You need to have more than one job to get a good kind of income, living, like an easy living. And on the other hand, my mom was I was the only one who stayed with my mom because my siblings were already not there and no man in the house. And so she was a little bit overprotective. You know, she thought that, Mannar, you are alone in this world, you know, you don't have a man by your side, not father or a brother. And so that kind of pushed me more to learn more, to physically be more strong. I did English courses, I did graphic design courses, and I got me my own freelance graphic design job. And so I was really into improving myself. Like the more mom wanted to prove, hey, you cannot do this alone in this world, you're alone and you're single and stuff like this. And the more that pushed me to work myself hard. So that was my life. Learning, endless discussion with my mom about traditions. And I did also sport. I did karate. Also because of mom, she thought I'm weak. I cannot survive in this world. So I made it to the brown belt, sadly.
Well, so you basically said challenge accepted. Whatever challenge your family or life threw at you, challenge accepted. I can do better than this.
That was my fool, really. Like, hey, mom, look.
Where did that actually come from? Because other people might just give up in that situation and say, hey, maybe I'm just not that good. Maybe I just do what society or people expect from me. Where did that hunger or this motivation to do better, to develop yourself come from?
From my mom herself. At my age, she did the same. She chose her way and she worked on herself hard. But somehow when mothers get older, they're like, I don't know, they become overprotective and they want their daughters to be the version that they didn't turn out to be, you know? And I believed in myself, like I have skills, why not? Like I would say, person X did it, why I cannot do it? So.
I think that's a really good statement to make and to also have the motivation to then really invest in yourself. Let's also talk about your background, Bettina. You actually finished your business studies in 2005. So what dreams or aspirations did you have?
Yeah, I would say I never had a clear career plan or similar. But there was this one situation during my studies where we visited the company called Mannar, who is producing Cautina, Ovomaltine, and these products, which are quite famous in Switzerland. And there was this brand manager then, and he presented his job and also the trainee at Mannar. And I was really fascinated. I knew this is what I want to do, exactly this job. But I knew it's really hard to get there. So I applied for the trainee, and luckily I got it. And exactly 3 years after that, I was in front of other students and was presenting this job and the trainee. So crazy story somehow, but I think that's something I take with me in life. So I often make the example of, I have an own Vespa, an old Vespa, very, very nice one. When it drives, it's nice. And when you drive, when you look on the right side, you also drive on the right side. So you have to look in the direction you want to go. So if you know where you want to go somehow, I think the chances are much higher that you achieve it somehow.
And in that regard, you really landed your dream job. You then spent actually a decade in marketing in numerous roles, also at other companies. So what did you actually take away from your career in marketing? Were there any key learnings or key takeaways that you can share with us?
I think in general, I took away a lot of branding, innovation, customer insight. So the whole area, which includes marketing and strategy. But my main takeaway is about leadership. So I had the opportunity to become the marketing manager of Ovomaltine, and I led a team of 8 people. These people were around the same age. Some of them were even better educated than I was. And I was really young, so it's kind of a hard challenge. So I suffered a lot, really. But what I mainly learned, what my main takeaway is how I can integrate different personalities into one team who is striving for the same goal. So we had really shy people, and then we had very extroverted, strong personalities. And somehow I think I achieved it to build a team. And I think this experience really helps me also to shape Powercoders nowadays, and even to shape in my private life. I think everything is human. Like, you have to deal with humans in all situations. And yeah, I think it's really these leadership skills which helps me the most.
Do you think in that regard that you are just a born natural, or were you actually really able to develop these skills? And if so, what actually helped you to get better at this? Because I think many people could struggle with the same challenges when they start leading a team.
Yes, I think everyone can learn it. I think you have to be very open-minded. You have to be open for critical thoughts as well, and respect that and just want to get better. I think it's really this beginner's mindset you have to have in every day you start. You need to have a beginner mindset, and then you can grow and get better in it.
Sounds like a good plan. So Mannar, you also worked as a web content manager at the government agency back in Syria, but then something horrible happened, war broke out. How has that actually changed and also affected your life?
At that point, it didn't happen right away because in other cities of Syria, it was already there. So Aleppo was a little bit late becoming this conflict. Basically, when it has become dangerous to go out to the street, there was no public transportation, so I couldn't get to work. Other activities like other hobbies, other errands that has to be done, no one could go out, like they stayed at home. And because of this, the only thing they could do is just follow the news and not the news on the TV. See the Facebook, the people what they're posting, and like Facebook was the window that we could see the world at that time. So yeah, from my side, I was watching Facebook what's going on in other cities, and I had these feelings of hopeless. Why is this happening? And I have learned that lots of people are traveling, are going, and you have the feeling that something's going on, something big, horrible is coming. You see horrible pictures in the internet. You see civilians are dying, and you know that it's coming. And especially for those families who had kids, they like the fear. There was lots of fear, and no one knew what to do. Some of people lost faith. Some of them just felt hopeless. So I was either just to be hopeless and just leave, or to do something to help those my folks, my people, those demonstration were just students, just university students, you know. So it was I had no choice. Like I had to be to help. I want to help. I know I cannot sit and watch, you know. So that's how my life changed. Who cares about the work anymore? Like there is people dying. There's blood in the street, you know. So sooner or later, you need to take sides.
Yeah, the priorities obviously just completely shifted. Things that we thought are important just are not important anymore because there's something much more at stake here. At a certain point in time, you then also decided that you would leave Syria and would flee to Turkey in your case. Was there any certain moment that led you to that decision, or how did you reach that conclusion that you said, hey, now I cannot really stay here anymore, I need to go?
Yeah. There was a point where the infrastructure of Aleppo was going down. You know, there were neighborhoods were whipped out. Electricity was cut. There was no electricity. You know, water. Staying at home was not an option because bombarding was going on, and you had to immigrate to another neighborhood that is less that was becoming less bombarding, you know, less, not zero, because the whole city was under fire, you know. And I had my mom. I was fearful that something happened to her. She was diabetes. She's still diabetes, and when she hears it, she gets this diabetes crisis. So I need to do something, you know. And at some point, because I'm not working, I had no money left. And I had, there was no internet, and I cannot get in touch with other work colleagues because it was dangerous. Like if I called someone, who knows where this telephone is now, in which hand, you know? So there was the question, why should I stay? I thought, no, I'm not ending up a corpse in the street that no one would know about. You know, I witnessed some people died in the street. They were not buried. I was fearful not of death. I was fearful that I'm scattered to pieces and no one could pick up the pieces and put me in a grave. That was like no one would visit me. My family would never know where I am because some people ended up like this, pieces. Or much worse, if I lost a hand or an eye, half a jaw, and I had to live with this for the rest of my life. You know, death, quick death, was the ultimate wish that any Syrian would want. Like quick death, that's it, but not the suffering with a disability. So I knew I would want to survive. I believed in myself. I needed. No, this is not my end. I'm going out of here. It's a lost case.
And why did you decide to go to Turkey in that regard?
Turkey was Aleppo geographically is like 45 minutes away from the Turkish border, and so that it makes it the fastest way, and thousands of people were going in the direction. So it was like the first safe island to be, to decide later what to do next.
Thank you for sharing these stories. I think it's incredibly powerful to hear your story. We can only sort of try to imagine what you went through. So thank you very much for sharing that.
I'm sorry for giving some, maybe I told some horrible images, but it's just emotionally, I get drifted, and I hope you forget those images that I just told. But it's the truth. This is what happened.
I think there's no reason to try to make it look better than it actually is. So I think it's crucial to be authentic and tell these stories. So at the same time, luckily for much better reasons, you also traveled, Bettina. You actually did a 4-month sabbatical and spent it in Silicon Valley. And there something happened. It sort of changed your life. Can you talk a bit more about what happened there?
Yeah, so we had the opportunity, so my husband and I had the opportunity to do a market entry camp with Swissnex in San Francisco. And yeah, it has been an incredible time. So we were, at the same time, we were also ambassadors for the e-bike brand Stromer. So we were riding our e-bikes through San Francisco, went to meeting, from meeting to meeting, from event to another event. We even passed the cable car up the hills. So it has been a really amazing time. But what fascinated me the most was really this startup vibes. These people who were so open and eager to help. So completely different on how I experienced it in Switzerland. So really this openness, and really the first question was always like, how can I help you? And I was always like, what have I to answer now? and I get used to it, that it's really about how can we support each other. So I think for me that was really a new mindset I got to know, I learned. And after that, I also started my first own project called Classery. It's a peer-to-peer platform. It doesn't exist anymore, but it has been a great experience to really then adapt what I learned right after this trip.
So you sort of saw people building stuff, people building companies, and then you suddenly had this idea that, hey, if they can do it, I can actually also do it myself. Yes,
actually, that was exactly the feeling I had. It felt so easy. I think that for me was the main difference from here. Here, I didn't had this feeling of, hey, I can just do it and try it, and if I fail, it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. And there, everything felt so easy and doable. Yes.
So now we talked about your individual journeys, but eventually you're now sitting here together. Your journeys also crossed, and where you crossed the path, we first have to understand the history of Powercoders to actually understand where and how you met, under which circumstances. So Powercoders was actually created by you, Bettina, and your husband, Chris, who also founded Swisspreneur, the podcast, by the way. And I just wonder, when did he actually first run the idea by you, and what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so that has been in summer 2016, and I just gave birth to our second child. And Chris approached me and said, hey, I'm invited to attend the Global Entrepreneur Summit in San Francisco again. And yeah, like bad timing. I mean, we were overwhelmed being parent of two, and really like there was happening a lot. But I remember exactly the words I was saying to him. I was saying like, Chris, go there because you don't know with what you return. And so he went there. He met two female entrepreneurs, one who founded a coding academy for women, and one who founded a catering company for refugees. And out of these two ideas, the project to build a coding academy for refugees was born. So Chris came back with something. And he approached me, and I was really fascinated for several reasons. First, like I mean, in the news, the refugees crisis, it crossed it everywhere. You looked at newspapers, you saw this refugee crisis, and it really, I felt like powerless. It made me really, really sad. And then when Chris told me this idea, I felt that I can turn this feeling of powerless into energy and do something about it, at least for the ones who are then in Switzerland. On the other side, what fascinated me as well is that we solve with this project actually two challenges we have in society. So one was really to integrate those people. And on the other hand, it's about the shortage we are facing in IT, the shortage of skilled IT talents. And so these two things really fascinated me to invest in this project.
Fantastic. So Mannar, how would you, from a participant's perspective, describe the offering, actually the boot camp that you go through? How would you describe that to someone who has never heard about Powercoders before?
First of all, it was my very first experience in integrating in Switzerland. It was for 3 months, 8 hours a day. First thing that I learned is that I need to wake up early and commute, which I struggled in the beginning because I need to go to another city. But other than that, there was a lot to take there. One of the challenges, besides the technical challenges, that was like ocean, because web development is just like an ocean. You dive in and you want to see the fishes. No, you want to see the coral. No, you want to build a ship. And no, you want to build a submarine. So, besides the technical side of things, there was this participants who came from different cultures, and one needs to learn how to go with all this. Like, there are from different lands, different culture, different religion. So I learned that I need to be tolerant, to accept other people. And it was fun. We learned a lot. There was this cultural event that happened every week, that some participant would present something from his culture. Sometimes ended up not so pleasant because of the politic again came. In general, I so highly recommend it. It is a first step into the informatic world, and because of this, I'm here. Actually, I'm hired. I'm a software developer.
I think that's a beautiful success story. Just, you came here, you got the boot camp, and then you found your employment. I think that's fantastic. Bettina, how does actually the business model behind Powercoders work? You're a non-profit, but you still have bills to pay. So how does that work?
We have, yes. So when we started, we got funded by SEM, the State Department for Migration of Switzerland, and on the other hand, by several foundations. But we knew that we want to attain somehow a sustainable financial model, which we have nowadays. It's half by the canton, and the other half is paid by the industry from the companies.
Got it. Makes sense.
Before we continue with the show, we would like to introduce you to our new partner, Nuco. Nuco helps founders navigate the paperwork that starting a company involves. From the first consultation all the way to the commercial register, Nuco has helped more than 900 entrepreneurs start their company, and they do so at highly competitive prices. To find out more, visit nuco.ch/Swisspreneur. Again, that's nuco.ch/Swisspreneur. And now, on with the show.
And I also wonder, Mannar, you already shared your experience with the boot camp, but before you actually were able to apply to it, you had to come to Switzerland first. So you were in Turkey, we heard before. Why did you then decide to leave Turkey and actually come to Switzerland?
At that time, Turkey hosted like thousands of, I guess there's more than 2 million Syrian people there. And the way it was, Turkey used Syrian people as like a political card, like whatever that wants. Hey, we will send Syrian people back if you don't give us what we want. It was. I had the feeling that at some the next week I could be sent again to Syria, so it wasn't really stable there. Secondly, Turkey didn't give the asylum; it gave some kind of humanitarian stay. Like, you can stay, but you don't have rights, which is. Hello, I need to study, I need to do something, I need to rent, but you can't do this. Health insurance was not the bare minimum. And at that time, there was this waves of immigrants that go into Europe. That was the end of 2015, where in TV, Angela Merkel, you guys, you can come, welcome and everything. I was like, okay, that's where I'm going. I wanted to go to Germany, but eventually I didn't end up in Germany.
Yeah, and then I think one of the last days of 2015, you then actually arrived in Switzerland. Exactly. And how did you first hear about the Powercoders program? Because even once you're here, that's probably not the natural thing. It's a new initiative that was just being founded. And how do you actually hear about such a program?
It was on, I think I saw an advertisement on Google. I saw in the Powercoders page. It was on Facebook, and some other two persons have told me about it. Some Syrian colleague and then some Swiss colleague. So I heard it from more than one resource. And yeah, I decided to join because, hey, why not? I did computer engineering in Syria, and I was anyway doing nothing because I was in this waiting phase because till I get my court interview. There's some kind of process. You apply for asylum and then you wait for the court interview, or we call it an interview at SEM. And it took a while, this phase. And I was like, okay, let's invest time, do something useful. And yeah, it was for me. Why not? That was for me.
So you're basically not allowed to work, right? But you're allowed to study and to invest in yourself. So that was a good fit for you.
Absolutely, because at that time I didn't have a status or residency ID. I had just paper that proves that this person applied on asylum and his case is under process. And with this, I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't study. I couldn't buy things. For example, I couldn't sign contracts to buy my hotspot device. I couldn't do anything. So I was like, yeah, this would be the right time to do something productive. And computer engineering is my passion.
And I can imagine there's also a more underlying motivation to start and actually participate in a 3-month coding bootcamp. You also wanted to get independent and not be depending on the state to a certain degree. So what role did that play?
That was one of the reasons I wanted to push myself. Sadly, the rules, like every canton has its rules. Like if I was in Zurich, I would have my status earlier, I would search for a job earlier, I would be employed earlier, I would have done study earlier and stuff. But Powercoders came in a time where I was on hold, And because of this, I don't know if you remember, Bettina, we pushed my case forward. Like we wrote to SM, like, hey, this person has finished, and could you please do the interview court? And because of this was one of the favors that Powercoders also gave me, because I would have waited longer to get a residency or a status. So, yeah.
Right. So that's certainly one challenge to navigate through the administrative jungle. Another challenge that you had to solve, Bettina, was basically to find jobs and internships for your students after they completed the program. How big of a challenge was that, and how did you solve it?
Yeah, that's the crucial part of it. And I think, it's one of the biggest challenges as well within our organization. And besides the normal, let's call it the sales funnel we are doing with generating leads and so on, it's really about telling our story. So everyone who wants to convince a company to provide internship, it's about telling the story, why we founded Powercoders, why Powercoders exist, and what it does, and what can happen, like success stories. We present cases like Mannar, what can happen afterwards. So it's really about telling these stories and hopefully find some common ground on that the company is able and willing to invest in that.
And which one is more difficult for you, to find students or to find companies that offer internships and jobs?
I would go for the second one, but still I think it's also for finding the talents. It's really about finding the ones who really profit from what we are doing, because some can do it without our help, and some are not successful in what we are doing. So we really have to find the right ones we can take all the way until they have their job. And I think it's really crucial, this recruitment, but finding the companies. I mean, it's getting easier because we are better known, and I think we also have the success stories. So it's getting really easier, I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's a good development that plays out in the long run, but it's probably hard to get started there.
Yes.
For you, it worked out well, Mannar. You then got your internship at Leap. Can you talk a bit how the matching process and how you actually got introduced to the company, how that all happened?
There was this career day that's part of the Powercoders program, where the participants of the Powercoders meet the companies that were willing to offer an internship. I remember speed dating style happened at that day. And then you decide like which companies you want to do the interview with. I remember I visited 3 or 4 companies for interview, and then I decided on Leap. Why? Because I followed my gut feeling. I just entered the office. They have like very big office, sunny, open spaces, and I entered there and the sun hit me, and I was suddenly full of positive energy, and it was like green colors, and they had this relaxing area, food, kitchen, everything. Like if I was a client, I would close the deal with Leap without anyone talking to me. It's just positive energy. So yeah, everyone there was friendly, and I thought that's a place to study, work in.
Great. And when you actually started working there, you also faced some cultural challenges. I mean, people here talk German or Swiss German even. You have a different life in Switzerland, different things that you need to take care of that you probably hear for the first time. So how do you manage these challenges of living life in Switzerland with all the things that are new to you? Did you ever feel completely overwhelmed?
Yeah, I was exposed to these challenges even before Leap. Like I did an apprenticeship as well in a school in Bern. So I hope there that they speak English because, computer, informatic English, but no, it turned out to be German. But no, once the teacher walked into the class, he started to talk Bern accent, the Bern Deutsch. So every time I went to school, every time the teacher came into the class, I would be the person, sorry, can we speak High German? Every time they had, loss of memory, they don't remember or something. This was for me too much because again, I need to remind them. And there was this project with the other students, my comrades, because we needed to learn some collaboration. And they talk with each other Swiss German. And I'm like, hey guys, is this disrespectful? I feel disrespectful, like I'm here, don't you see me? I'm not short. You should guys speak, so something I understand. So at the end of the day, I was like, oof, should I really go through this? Why I didn't sign up for this? So yeah, the Swiss German was really, language was one of the big challenges. Exactly. For the life in general, Switzerland is very advanced, like the transportation, public transportation, other than being lost once, twice, I don't know how many times. Actually, before, 2 months ago, I got lost again, and that's shame on me because after 5 years in Switzerland, I get lost. But I went on these trains that in the microphone it says, hey, now you need to go out and you need to walk to the end and you get in again because the train will separate. But I didn't get that quite well. I checked my phone. Oh yeah, this is my connection. And I stayed and I ended up in another city. But now I know which connection that. So yeah, transportation is... Whew.
You mentioned the language is a big challenge, and also, people just kept talking Swiss German. Did you ever thought about hey, this is too much for me. I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna isolate myself, or I'm gonna do something different. Was there ever a moment where you thought, I'm not gonna succeed here. I quit?
There was a moment in my apprenticeship. The apprenticeship, you need to do 3 days at school and 2 days at work. So I needed to work with my colleague at work and present something, and I need to do homeworks at school, and I need to do exams there. There was lots going on, but stopping was not an option because I would disappoint many people one of them is me. I would disappoint me. And it's just the bottleneck, you know, you need just to go through it. And what kept me moving as well is that I sit and I closed my eyes and I thought of the end target, like why I'm doing this, why I'm really doing this. Because I want to be independent, because I want to have my own flat, because I wanted to get financially good, to help mom also financially. I imagined where I am after all this pain, and when I get back to the present moment, that would give me enough energy to go on. Also the fact that I always kept it in mind, this is all temporarily. It's not gonna stay. Just temporarily, and it's gonna go. And yeah, I worked on improving language because I figured out this is the key to all, you know, the ring that rules them all. If you get the language, you get to express yourself good. If you express yourself good, you would be in control. If you are in control, your mind is relaxed. If your mind is relaxed, it functions very well in every aspect, not only at work, school, outside, relationship, everything.
Fantastic. Let's also talk about another challenge that you actually face, Bettina. Being a nonprofit itself per se can also be a pretty big challenge. So we also want to focus on this purpose-driven organization. So first of all, from your perspective, what distinguishes purpose-driven versus non-purpose-driven organizations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think most companies or startups are focusing on what they are doing because it's much easier to define and explain. But I think there's much more. There's much more when you want to create a movement, when you want to create loyal customers, loyal employees. You have to go deeper and explain, why do you even exist? Why do you found this? Why exactly you? What does it really serve? What problems is it really solving? For whom? So really go deep in this why questioning. I love how Simon Sinek phrases it. It's the people do not buy what you do, they buy why you're doing it. And I think that explains it very simple, what I mean with that. And another example for me, which inspires me a lot, is Patagonia. So if I buy a t-shirt from Patagonia, it's not because, maybe it's because I like the color more, but it's because Patagonia has, I don't know if it's still the current one, but they used to have the purpose statement of Powercoders is in business to save our home planet. And that just inspires me emotionally that much that I'm really loyal to this brand. And I wouldn't switch when I have to decide between two shirts. So I think there's a lot in it with this purpose definition and to be sure why this company exists. I think especially for startups, it can be helpful. I mean, you have a lot of ups and downs. One day you win an award, next day you lose customers. So it's really hard to go through this whole journey. And I think this purpose is kind of your company belief, which holds everything together and which gives you the energy to go also through the downs. And also in terms of focusing, so in a startup life, there are many opportunities, so you'd have to decide a lot. So which one is the right decision? So what we are doing at Powercoders is ask ourselves always the question, does that serve our purpose or not? And I think that really distinguishes opportunities on the first level, where you can say with a good feeling, you can say no to opportunities.
And I guess in that regard also authenticity is a key word, because people, they can tell whether the sparkle in your eyes is real or not, and that probably is driven by the why that you just mentioned. In that regard, I also wonder, you have your company purpose, but in what way, if at all, is that also being reflected or integrated somehow in your personal why? Because I can imagine if you don't have them in sync, it's probably a very stressful time.
Yes, I believe as well. So I would even say that the more your personal purpose overlaps with the company purpose, the happier you are. So I think it's, for me, I'm actually recruiting for Powercoders right now. So one of the main things I want to find out is also what is the personal purpose of an individual. And if that really fits into our company purpose, into Powercoders' purpose. And I think that's a very good way of finding out if it really will work with this potential employee.
Right. In that regard, you found your purpose and you also shared how you actually found it to a certain degree. Do you have any recommendations for companies that might not be there but still are in business for years and still sort of lack this purpose? So they know what they're doing but not why they're doing it. Do you have any recommendations about how to go about finding your own purpose as a company?
I would phrase it very simple. Don't stop asking why. It's really when you like, why did you found the company? Da, 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 da. But why did you especially found this and not that? And so really go deep in this founding story, go deep in this motivation, and go deep in the target group. You are solving a problem. What is really the problem there? And I'm pretty sure if you go deep in this discussion, it will occur. It is there. So I believe that the purpose is there. It's just to have to make it explicit, and you have to find it and kind of phrase it as well.
That's actually a good keyword. How do you then communicate that across the organization so everybody is aligned and knows what the purpose is?
Yeah, so within Powercoders, it's within our structure. So we are self-organized, and for that we created roles for the work we're doing, and each role has its own purpose, which serves the overall purpose. Means like in our daily life, we are focusing in the direction of our purpose. So it's really within the organization. I think it really needs to, you have to shape your organization towards your purpose. Otherwise, it's like what we call whitewashing, that you do something good for outside, but it's not reflected in your internal organization.
Yeah, you have to walk the talk.
Yes.
Do you also see any disadvantages in that regard that purpose-driven or also non-profit organizations actually face?
Yeah, like to stay true to that purpose, because I mean, sometimes there are opportunities which are very tempting, and you really have to stay true to it.
Do you have an example for one of these situations?
Yeah, maybe it's like we had once the discussion in our example with Powercoders. It has been that we could also do a coding academy for butchers. That would be an opportunity, and we knew that we already knew who could finance it. We really knew how to do it, but we then say no to it because we knew we want to solve the problem within IT. It's a complete different situation in the butcher area. So I think that's a kind of an example where you can say no with a good feeling.
Yeah, that really seems, this purpose seems to give you a good guidance about where you should say yes and where you should say no. So now we talked about your individual journeys, how your journeys met, but we don't know what the future will bring. So Mannar, what do you have planned for your future? You successfully completed your internship at Leap, and you are now also employed there as junior developer. So what are your plans? What do you have in store next?
As a software developer, it's just the first step. I'm still junior. I still have to learn a lot. So my plan is to be really, really good at what I'm doing. And during this journey, I'm planning to help as much as I can, because I know how the challenges already I went through. I want to help also other people who would want to take the same path that I did. On a personal level, I would want to move to a house on the lake. That's my dream, my wish. And also, I really wish to have the opportunity to invite my mom for her to come here and leave Syria forever. So that's
wonderful.
My plan. Thanks.
And Bettina, to share some numbers of Powercoders, you had more than 220 students. You have about 145 companies onboarded and a 90% success rate from finishing the program to an internship placement. I think that's fantastic. So what do you do next with Powercoders? I mean, these numbers are so good, so overwhelming. Do you want to scale it up? Do you want to launch something new? What do you have planned?
So in Switzerland, it's about opening doors for more. It's really about helping as much as we can support on this journey. On the other hand, we are also expanding our impact on another level. So we came across the situation that the social heritage influences the success in education in Switzerland strongly, especially when you are not born in Switzerland. Therefore, we started a pilot in Lausanne last year where we conducted a youth camp where kids with a migrant or refugee background attended a week robotic camp or built an app or created a website or similar stuff to enter really this digital world and show the opportunities there are. So that's just as an example where we think we can have impact as well. But I like how one of our board members once called it during a general assembly we had last year. He said, like, we are in the third minute of a soccer game. So I think there's still a lot to do.
Yeah. Fantastic. So exciting future ahead for both of you. Together or in separate ways, we will see. Maybe we'll have another talk soon. And I'm really deeply impressed by how purposeful you are driven. You use that as a compass for your organization, and especially also by your determination and really the spirit to put through the hard times and difficult times. So thank you so much to both of you for sharing the impressive journey, and all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode was brought to you by Swisspreneurs' main partner, Clara Business, the digital all-in-one solution for small businesses. Managing internal processes manually and on paper wastes an incredible amount of time. That's why Clara digitizes everything, allowing you to focus on what really matters, your core business. Go to clara.ch to find out how your business administration can be simpler, faster, and more efficient. Again, that's clara.ch.